In the final days, the Silmarils will be gathered together from the earth, from the sky, and from the waters.
Welcome back to Middle Earth.
Yahoo!
It's been a while. It's been a year. It's been a year since you guys
God.
last ventured in Eredor and Rohan and Thulorian and Mirkwood and Aenor and all them other places across the Misty Mountains.
We were all over the place, weren't
We
we?
were everywhere. So it's been a while since you guys have been back to Middle Earth, but this is 1 year later. Now this is just a catch up for everybody. The War of the Ring is over. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the War of the Ring is over. The King Theoden was tragically killed in the battle, struck down by the Witch King of Angmar on the battlefields of Pelennor, which is open flatland between the outer wall and the inner wall of Minas Tirith. And Queen Eowyn reigns in his absence at the moment, although she's not actually coronated as being the queen. That falls upon the nephew of King Theoden, which is Oromir, but he's presently at the moment off in Dol Amroth, restoring order to the seaports that were attacked and pillaged by the Corsairs of the south. And he's not due back for at least another year. So Queen Eomer rules or governs, I would say, Rohan in her absence. She's formed strong bonds with Tharbad. One female to another female has strengthened those bonds. Although there is still kind of a slight issue with like disturbances in the Dunland area amongst the smaller tribes. Those that sided with Saruman have been shunned to those that sided with Tharbad and with Rohan, and that has brought a civil war of unrest on a small scale across the Dunland region. The orcs seemingly still reside inside Moria. The disbanding of the Dark Lord has not immediately put an end to all evil across Middle-earth. It still resides, just like at the end of the War of the Wrath in the First Age, where the capture of Melklor, there was many that escaped and hid in the depths of Middle-earth, in the pits of Utumno and Angband at that time, and they now reside in the depths of Mordor and in Moria and of Isengard and Dol Guldur and Khazad Dûm in Angmar, as well as numerous other places. Orcs have now stopped following their former leaders and have formed their own bands and tribes, clans as such, and now out fending for themselves. There is adventurers now have taken to the road and have invaded these former lands of the Dark Lord for treasures, for riches, and for personal gain and things like that. Once former owners of magical items, now past, them magical items now up for grabs, and many relics and important items have fallen into the hands of imbeciles and people that don't know the power that they yield. Okay? It's been a year since you last saw Saruman and Morningstar battle on the bridge. The whereabouts are unknown to you. And it's been a year since you've seen that fault line open up in the Grey Wood at Kalost, and what demonic creatures live below there show themselves. It's been quiet for a considerable length of time. Life has continued. Your towns have developed. Some as you've planned, some not quite have gone the way you wanted them to do. Minas Tirith is still rebuilding itself. It takes a long time to rebuild a city that's stood for a millennia.
Through the test of time.
Yep. To be rebuilt after its attack by the forces of Sauron. Osgiliath took the brunt of most of the punishment in the River Anduin, the city on the island between Mordor and Minas Tirith, and that is also still being patrolled. One of those things that's a constant reminder to everybody is the sun keeps rising in the east, keeps rising over Mordor. Just a subtle reminder to those that served and those that battled the forces of darkness that it's never always over. The sun always sets in the Undying Lands in the west, reminding you that always be vigilant and always keep an eye for a rising new power. The wedding of Aragorn and Arwen was attended by Estelfair, by Olwe. Theodore sent his regrets, rebuilding and restructuring of Kalost, the regarrison of Kalhad, in preparation for a very severe winter. Kept him away from the festivities.
Yeah, bad sakes, no drink for me.
But it's been a year, and they've been away for a while. But they have returned now. They've returned back to Minas Tirith as man and wife. Queen of Gondor and King of Gondor. And also, more so than that, they've returned as King and Queen of the reunited regions, kingdoms as such. And they've forged strong bonds with people as far as the south and people as far as the north, the east, and the west. The land of Mordor is still unoccupied at the moment. However, Aragorn has issued scouting parties, excessively large scouting parties, to seek out and try and retrieve lost pieces of knowledge and information from that realm, to bring about further study and understanding in preparation, and also as a countermeasure to anybody else who might think about filling the void that Sauron has left behind. The Nine Riders have been disbanded, although they cannot actually be destroyed or vanished from the world. They seem to have just slipped back into the mists of the ether, not knowing whether they'll ever be returned or summoned. It could be a considerable time before we see them again, but most certainly won't be the last time. It's a great much loss across it all, but this is a time of celebration, of renewal. This is the beginning of the Fourth Age. First year of the Fourth Age. The Age of Man. The elves are still leaving Middle-earth, even though the imminent danger has passed. They realise that everything that they've constructed in the Middle-earth, everything they've worked for and built over the many, many centuries, is no longer, they no longer have claim over it, and they are forfeiting everything that they've built, all their kingdoms, all their possessions and everything like that, to return back to the Undying Lands, the lands of Aemon, in the Valinor, to take up their seats in the halls of Manwë, in the light of Ilúvatar. So it's been a year. Aragorn and Arwen have returned, and you're being summoned. You find yourselves, you're in a very large hall, very large marble hall. Could easily accommodate probably the wealthiest and the most powerfulest people across all of Middle-earth in its huge chambers in Minas Tirith. It's on the highest tier of Minas Tirith, on the end of the White Mountains. Ceiling is approximately 40-50 feet high. These huge columns, numerous in size, are of a black and white marble. The floor is black, and there's wooden, almost like cathedral pew seats set up facing you in one particular direction, with a huge throne at the far end. And you're all sat next to each other. In the 15th or 16th row, you can't really count. So many people. And you're attending the coronation of the married couple. It's a second ceremony they have to go through. In which case the senior leaders, or the garrison commanders and the guild holders of Minas Tirith, have to swear allegiance to Arwen. After they've already sworn allegiance to Aragorn II. And you're going through this ceremony where people are being called forth, and this is also a ceremony of reward for people that have fought bravely in the Battle of Pelennor Fields, in the Battle of the Black Gate. And you hear some people being the equivalent of a knighthood taking part, with the blessings of Arwen and of Aragorn in thanks. And they receive like a sash, where they hang over one's shoulder, hangs down one side, and it's kind of like a deep blue with gold trim on it, and it's got like a white tree embroidered, towards the bottom half of the front. And these people are recognized as being heroes of the War of the Ring. And you're watching the people go past as they've been called, and there's various names being shouted. You're all sat next to each other, and seems like you sat there for what seems quite a while. You seem to lose interest in look at the people around you, and you look at the marble, and you look at the floor, and you're looking at the decoration. Huge statues to the left and to the right on the far side of the former kings of Gondor, going back centuries and centuries. You can see some plaques on the wall. You notice a little bit of graffiti carved into one of the seats nearby, in the back of one of the seats, where you noticed that a young child probably just lost interest in something that was going on and decided to carve his name into the back of somebody's chair.
Nice.
Surprisingly, considering the size of the actual hall, you can still hear quite clearly what's being shouted, and there's some trumpeteers over your left shoulder. As you look up, you can see there's a gallery that's above you, like a walkway area, and there's some trumpeteers, and there's various banners hanging all the way around this room, and they're from all different regions and all different areas. And I guess it's a representation of everybody who seems to recognize as Aragorn being the true rightful ruler and the heir to Isildur. So I have this moment to be able to sit and talk. You notice there's a few of the people just having a little murmur amongst themselves, passing the time, just getting acquainted with each other while they go through this addressing system of rewarding all these people that fought bravely. And it's not just normal soldiers either. There's people that open their homes up to refugees, and there's people that did some heroic deeds, did some healing, and did some firefighting, and there's lots of things going on, and everybody seems to be getting rewarded for everything that they did during the time of the War of the Ring. But at this moment, you're all sitting amongst each other on this very comfortable wooden bench. There's no pillars. You're dressed in your normal best clothes. You can assume that you're wearing your best clothes, and you haven't really had an opportunity to talk to each other. So you've got a little time before we move on. Just to
I have a question. Is this everybody, or is it just Estelle alone?
Oh no, it's all 4 years. It's all 4 years. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's all 4 years. All 4 years are all sitting sitting. You,
Another question then.
yes.
Who is it with us? Like, can you say person by person? So is Freya with me?
Freya's not with you.
Marisha with me?
Freya's not with you. Always with you. Marisha's not with you. Marisha is back in Kalost. Freya's back in Kalost. You are there. Estelle's there. Olwe is there. Morwen is not there. Nostriel is not there. Dilntrust is there, and Zabi is there. You're all sat pretty much next to each other, and you're all kind of in the roundabout row 15, 16, 17, somewhere around about there on the left-hand side. If you're going to start talking or doing something, you can probably get away with a good deal of amount of stuff without being discovered.
Oh.
I lean down so I can see everyone down the road.
Or you just lean out.
Yeah, just to give a little wave.
Okay.
Because I would have been the one with like a little book out, and I write like certain things every so often.
You got a diary or something.
And I'll spot the odd thing that might be happening that no one noticed. You know, like the odd guy picking his nose. Like, I
Okay.
know picking your nose.
I don't need to know that.
Mementos. Hey, so you're sitting there, you're like making little notes, little diary entries, little journal kind of things. Always,
Theo is waving down the aisle.
yeah. Olwe kind of leans out and waves back.
Oh my god, I got a wave.
Always
I'm so happy.
waving back.
Yeah. As she kind of like waves back, you see that she retracts her hand and then kind of makes the crazy sound. You know, like the crazy symbol, you know, like waves her finger around next to the side of her head.
What?
I think she's telling you're crazy.
Oh! Oh god.
Oh. Okay.
Telling me I'm crazy, or is she telling saying
This is crazy.
Crazy.
I
This is
leave that
crazy.
entirely
Oh.
up to you to decide.
Yeah. I'm going to go thinking that she's saying this is crazy because she hasn't pointed at me and then gone crazy. She's just gone crazy. Like this situation is crazy. It's like yeah, and I just nod.
I'm just looking like.
Notes. Okay.
Who's next to me on my other side?
You've got Zabi on one side, and then you've got Dilntrust.
Can we draw this for a second so I can
Oh,
actually
God,
spatially
okay.
be aware
Yeah.
of who is
Go
this?
then, you can
Like
go.
who's where, so
Just used initials.
Yeah, okay. It's a Z, is it?
yeah.
Zabi?
I know,
Oh,
it's a
Zabi.
two.
I get to do. You got Zabi? Okay, we got Zabi.
So it's Zabi, Theo.
Zabi, Theo. Dilntrust.
So Zebby.
Zabi,
Theo.
Theo,
Dilntrust.
D.
Then you got Estelle.
That looks so wrong.
Then Estelle.
That's right.
And then
Ah.
Olwe.
Is that an O or?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's an O, Olwe. Yeah, okay.
Cool. I've got a new name.
Theo.
Did you?
Would and number fact, just to make sure we are on a seating plan that we all would have agreed on because of the way we might have come in the room. Would Dylan Trust literally sit next to me?
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
not.
It was like it was
Probably
It was
not.
one of those situations where it was just like, look, you know when you're going into like a function or something like that, it's like just get in there and fill the seats. That's the kind of situation you were like, okay, next 5 people, get in there.
So you really had no choice.
You really have no
I
choice. Not going to change
Okay.
seats. You want to change seats, you can try changing seats, you know. But you know,
Maybe Dylan Trust would be like, "Can you swap with me?"
yeah, maybe.
when I'm literally right next to you, and I'm like, that is so insulting.
Yeah, and that's the
And that
That's
already
the way
ends
you're
the
facing.
campaign.
that's the way you're facing. Yeah, so
Fight.
So we're all sat like next to each other. There's people like after all there's like a whole like another 5 or 6 people. These seats are fairly long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not sitting next to randoms, it's fine.
No, you're all sat there. You're all kind of like, yeah.
I sort of go between Xavier and Dylan tries to say, it's good to see you both, by the way. We'll have to speak a little bit later on. I don't think this is probably the best time to have a conversation, but
Yeah.
I do the face of, yes, you are right, Theo. The face of, yes, you are right, Theo.
the face. Okay.
Zabby just like waves her hand a bit, like, you know, like thing, like the don't worry thing, and she just whispers, "That's probably a good idea."
Okay. So yeah, you sit there as patiently as you possibly can. Like, you know, you start to lose sensation.
which chair in front of us has the Vandal one, by the way? Who has the Vandal chair in front of us?
It's in front of Olwe.
Was it all week?
Well, that's up to debate. You're not sure if Olwe is actually the one that's carved the done the graffiti, or if it's been there for quite a while. Could have been quite a while.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks
What
like
does it say on the carvings?
you're not
It's
really
like
certain
next
what
to-
it is. You kind of think it looks like a stick figure knifing another stick figure.
That's always handiwork.
I'm gonna draw it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try attempting to redraw what is on
like
the
like
screen.
one stick figure like taking a knife to another stick figure. That's what it looks like from your point of view, anyway.
Dear Lord.
Okay.
Unless it's like weird language, but we don't know.
I will have to take a picture of what I drew in my book to represent.
That's fine. So yeah, this thing goes on for like 20-30 minutes or so, and it's like, oh my god, are they ever going to get through with all these people? It's like then they start like bringing in like some of the commoners, and it's like, oh yeah,
They're still bringing people in.
oh yeah. The people are being called. The people are being called. These are people that are receiving the honors, receiving their rewards, kind of thing. So they're like got them all lined up, and it's like, and
Honor for being a part of the war of blah 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 may come forth. Jeremy, Kyle. I don't know all the names.
No, don't use that name for bloody sake.
It popped in my head and I said it.
there we go. So yeah, they're calling all the commoners, like, and it's like this woman's been rewarded for administrating
Barbary.
nursing aid to like 30 soldiers that are injured and all this kind of stuff, and so it goes on for about 20 minutes or so, and it's like, oh god, is it ever going to end? And then
Oh, can I? Before it ends, can I like lean over to her and say, after this, do you all want to go to the pub after?
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
yeah, as the way
Yeah,
the way
I'm gonna
functions
join you there, Theo.
the way functions go, this feels like it's a function where you've just been kind of like formally invited because of whom you are, but you're acquainted with Aragorn and Arwen. It's not like you're not going to get a reward out of this. You're not going to get anything kind of like you're not going to
No,
any
don't
kind of
expect
information out of
much.
this. It's just like it's just a kind of like a formality of just being like invited along, crying. But this is the
Yeah.
first time we've actually all been got back together, kind of thing, after a whole year.
Yeah. So, like I said before, to answer Theo's question, I go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Sure, I'll join you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I just nod my head.
Just make sure it's not, you know.
No, it was whispers. Don't worry.
You know.
Invite the whole line of people back.
Anyway,
The one on the end.
On the
page.
house, on me.
on
Everybody gets
Estelle.
through.
Oh, okay.
No, not me. So, I mean,
character.
I was trying to emulate
Oh, okay.
Theo. Theo.
Not me.
Like,
anyway,
everyone gets a drink on me.
It's been about
Anyway.
20 minutes or so.
Invite the whole road.
No, it's been about 20 minutes or so, and to get some for about 30 minutes, and then there's like a little bit of a break in the session. Not too sure if this is an interval or if they're like missing a few people or whatever. But then there's a trumpet blast again from behind you on the gallery, and then
What?
Dylan tries to wakes up. There's a trumpet blast, and you hear it, and it's from the gallery, where you can see all these banners all hanging up, and then there's just a moment of like some kind of just like a moment of hush, and then this official stands at the front and officially thanks you for coming along, and
Sorry.
thanks King Aragorn and Queen Arwen for giving recognition to the heroes of Minas Tirith and the Battle of Pelennor and the War of the Ring, and the King and the Queen stand. They're kind of like Queen Arwen goes over to King Aragorn, takes his hand, and then they slowly depart into a small little chamber just off to their right hand side. The guy seems to be who's running the ceremony seems to just to go over to a like a plinth kind of thing, yeah, like a plectrum. Takes up a book, folds the book, closes the clasp on it, and then picks the book up, carries the book, and he disappears into a small little room. Kind of leaves the stage, and he disappears to a room on the right hand side. As soon as that door closes, it's like a heavy lock falls into place, and it reverbs throughout the entire marble chamber. And then a few moments later, everybody starts getting up and starts to leave. Yeah? Everybody seems to leave in this marble hall as if the ceremony's kind of come to its end, it's concluded.
Are they doing it like row by row, or is it like everyone just stands up at the same time?
Well, they're doing it kind of row by row, but so a few people like in front of you are standing up and they're like putting their coats back on, like, you know, like getting themselves sorted out, you know what I mean, like stretching their legs a little bit because they've been sat down on these heavy wooden benches for well over an hour.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is any of the fellowship that didn't leave for the Undying Lands here?
Any of the fellowship that didn't leave for the Undying Lands?
Are they in attendance or no?
Not really. They were in the attendance for the wedding.
But they're not in attendance.
They're not in
for
attendance here, no. So there's no Legolas, no Gimli, or...
Okay.
Okay. It's like they've had their coronation. They had their coronation and they had their wedding, and that was, and the rewards were given out to the fellowship members like previously. Now this is like they've had time to take measure. The city's had time to recognize everybody's deeds and to jot them down, you know what I mean? Like make note of them. It takes a long time to actually make sure that they've given recognition to everybody who's served and everybody who's done something in the Battle of the War of the Ring. Now it's their turn. Yeah? Yeah, so the Fellowship have been dealt with, so no, they're not in attendance, no. There's no Galadriel or Elrond or anything like that. They were there in the first ceremony, you know, about eight months beforehand. Now this is just the general populace's ceremony kind of thing. You've been invited as the general populace.
Yeah.
General populace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what we are. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, people are starting to get up and stretch their legs. You know, some of the older folks are starting to like bend their backs a little bit and rock their shoulders side to side. You know, they've been sat for quite a while. It's a bit, some of them become a little bit more rigid than others. Some of the children that were there got a little bored. You know what I mean? And there's, like, they've been told by the parents now to pick up all the pieces of paper they've left on the floor. You know, all that kind of stuff. You see one of them like retrieving a small wooden, like almost like a wooden horse of Troy on wheels kind of thing. Small toy.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah. small toy kind of thing, not decorated, just a plain wood one. Seems to be just retrieving it. Like, go get your horse. And he's retrieving that, and people are picking up their bags and various other things. This is it's around about the end of summer. Okay, so it's around about the equivalent of August and September. So it's quite warm in there, but the marble's keeping the place cool. But it's a very, very warm day outside. Yeah.
I stand up and stretch.
Okay, Theo, you stand up and stretch, and you notice that there's 2 Gondorian soldiers who seem to be approaching you on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, they seem to be like coming down to your aisle row, which is around about 14, 15, 16. But they're coming to you from the back of the actual marble halls, from the actual main chamber. They're not coming from the front stage there, they're coming from behind.
Do I see this as well?
Oh yeah, they're unmistakable. They've got gleaming, like silvery white armor with like wings carved into them. You know,
really fancy.
Yeah. Each one of them has a, apart from full plate armor, obviously very, very shiny, very, very brass-like. They also have a like a pike, you know, like a spear. Yeah, in their right hand. They don't have any shields or anything like that, but they do have these wonderful deep blue, like kind of like capes, like tunics, that hang down to the back of their ankles, and it's a deep blue, and it's got imprinted into it, like woven into it, the white tree of Gondor into the back of these tunics. Yeah,
that's like what, Theo's crest or something like that.
Oh no, nothing to do with me.
That's Gondorian, not
Talos.
This is Aragorn's like personal guard, almost like.
Yeah. So it's ones, you see 2 of them, and they the first one goes slightly past your raw aisle, and the second one stops just before your raw aisle, and the left and the right.
Stop us walking away until they get us.
Eh?
Pretty much to stop us turning from them. Okay.
Everybody sees this. Everybody sees these 2 soldiers. Like, and you just think maybe it's like, maybe they just like send the soldiers out to like escort all the people, make sure there's no loiterers or anything like that.
I look up at Theo, like looking. Are we in trouble?
Don't think so. I mean, I haven't done anything wrong yet.
Estelle, you notice Alweed slowly, like, kind of fold away a flick knife and put it into a pocket.
What?
Wow. Yeah, that's.
I'm scared right now.
She's not going to knife you. It's fine.
I believe we should all start to leave unless the guards stop us otherwise. And if they do stop us, we shall proceed with them as they are, I believe, the Royal Guard. Am I correct in that?
But that'd be a good assumption. Very good assumption, yeah.
Yeah. I know they're Gondorian, Zeddy, but
I'm
pretty sure they're Italy.
They're not dwarves.
We are in the fortress of them, but you know.
Okay.
Okay, everybody else is leaving. They seem to be like moving past the soldiers. The soldiers are smiling, you know what I mean? Like saying good morning to everybody, and as they go past, and mind how you go. Make sure you keep all your belongings and all the rest of it. Don't lose them, you know. So they're not being aggressive or anything like that. They're being quite pleasant about it. Being very kind of almost laid back, but they're still doing their job.
It's all good. I say to Zabi, could you begin to move as I need to get past you?
Oh, yeah, sure. And I, like, move along where Theo wants me to move.
Yeah.
And then I begin to leave the row.
Okay, you begin to leave the row, and Gondorian soldier. I take everybody else is still remaining seating, yeah?
I'll move in a second, yeah.
I kind of follow Theo, to be honest, though.
Yeah, we're going to the pub.
Yeah.
Gondorian soldier kind of just holds up his hand. He doesn't actually make contact with you. He doesn't stop. He just says,
No.
My lord, you've been requested an audience with the king.
Fair enough.
Oh.
Aww, we're not going to have that pub.
I believe he probably means all of us as well.
Yes, he's kind of, he glances across all 4 of you. Well, the other 4, I would say, the other 4, including all we.
Wait, all of us? I say to the guard.
Yes, my lady. If you would like to remain here until the hall is emptied, and then I'm under instruction to escort you to one of the conference chambers.
Fair enough. Shall we remove ourselves from the road so the people in the middle of the road can leave?
You can see that they're being exited from the actual other side of the aisle.
Oh, okay. Well, no,
That's
I'll go
fine.
to sit back down then.
Yeah, which you do turn around and you notice that is the purpose of the guards on the other side seem to be escorting people from the other side of the aisle, like from your row.
They said we're going to see the king.
He's been granted an audience, and the king has requested to like spend some
He wants to say hi.
say a word with you or something like that. But he hasn't been given too much detail. He's just it is what we call a citadel guard.
He's just a soldier on duty.
He is, but
basically.
he's kind of stationed in this particular hall, this coronation hall. He's not a city guard, or he's not a soldier or anything like that. He's just a ceremonial kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to my seat and sit politely. I go, oh, isn't this fun?
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So you are you remain seated, and it takes a while. It takes about 15 minutes or so to clear the entire room. And as the time passes, it's like, what could he make? What could he want? What can he?
It's just Sabby, like, through that bit, Sabby just kind of, like, sits down. And she starts to think of her frostbite.
It's fine. Where is Frostbite?
He's not in the,
Not in the city.
not in the city, no. He's
Okay.
in the outskirts of it.
All right. Okay. That's fine. All right. I assume that nobody else is there anybody else aware of Frostbite, or is it just
Only Theo.
only Theo? Only Theo is aware of Frostbite. Oh well, I'll be surprised.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the hall eventually clears, kind of thing, and then the guards kind of just do one look around, make sure nobody's like hiding behind any seats or anything like that, hiding behind any drapes, statues, pillars, and all that kind of stuff. Then one of them returns and says, "Hall's clear." And the guard looks over at Theo and says, "Would you like to? Would you come with me, my lord?"
Yes, certainly. Nice stand and
You stand up.
follow.
Okay.
I go where he tells me.
The guard looks
Would
across
it be
everybody.
one by one or just as a group?
No, as a group.
Yeah.
As a group. He's motioning that all of you just if you'd like to just accompany
Yeah,
him.
I follow where
I'm-
Theo goes, so.
I let Ollie and Estelle pass, and then I get up after Ollie's kind of passed me and say to the guard, "In future, you might want to say that with a little bit more confidence. Not being rude or anything, but Theo is a normal man, just like you. He puts his armor on one leg at a time."
Although you look at me today and I have no idea. I'm fancy
One leg at a time.
I didn't know what to say. Like, I was gonna say robes, but then that sounds weird. So he puts his clothing on one leg at a time, just like any other person.
Sabby rolls her
The guard
eyes.
doesn't really he's just following orders. He's just got one job: get you from there to
Yeah, but
there.
it sounded like he kind of stuttered when he said it. So
No,
Dylan
fine, it's
Travis
like,
trying to
yeah.
reassure him,
Yeah.
like he's
I mean,
just a normal man.
He doesn't know of you.
He's just being polite.
Yeah, he
that's
doesn't know of you. He doesn't know like what type of person you are. He's just like, okay, just all I gotta do is just get these people to that room, and that's it. Yeah.
One simple task: get the people in one room. That's it.
That's it, yes. So you're walking down the central aisle, and
Mhm.
I say it's
Look behind me, everyone's there, yeah?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're the
I'm
only
close
people
behind
in
you,
this
Theo.
place. When it's a kind of a hall where if somebody walks down, you can hear their footsteps like echo. So
Okay.
all you can hear is you walking down this aisle. And it's quite a walk. It's quite like it's about 50, 60 meters or so. And as you're walking down this hall, you can hear the echoes of your own footsteps, kind of like bouncing off the walls and pillars and the windows and that. As you march up towards this huge, elaborate marble throne. Yeah. And hanging above the throne is behind the throne is a huge carving of in stone of a tree with stars carved in above it, and there's various royal banners and insignias and things like that all hanging to the left and to the right. As you approach the steps, There's a few steps that lead up to this throne. You can see that there is a black carpet with gold trimming.
Fancy.
And it goes up to a huge round rug, which is just in front of the actual stone throne itself. To the left hand side you can see there's a small doorway. To the right hand side you can see there's a small doorway. And the guard just veers off to the left, moving towards the door that you saw Queen Arwen and King Aragorn move through about 15-20 minutes earlier. He knocks on the door. And he knocks again. And the door unlocks. Doesn't open, just unlocks. The guard steps back and says, just motions you to go through the door.
Okie dokie.
After you.
I was literally going to say ladies first, but
Well, I beat you to it. Go.
I open the door and go through.
Okay, open the door and you go through and find yourself in a very elaborate study.
Oh wow.
Like there's a very large table there. It looks like it's been there for centuries. It's solid wood. It's got a leather top, green leather top, and surrounded that there's walls of books, tombs, and scrolls. Some papers that seem to be shoved into like parcel satchels on one shelf, like a huge shelf of like a whole wall of shelves. And just beyond that, you can see that there's a figure who seems to be standing at a plate glass window of lead line crisscrossing. You can see the daylight just outside, big hanging drapes to help block out the cold of the evening. The curtains are open at the moment.
I'm going to be guessing that's the king. Is that the king standing there?
Are you all going into the room?
I did say after you to Theo, and he.
I know. I went through. So.
And I'm following
Yeah,
too, and I'm having Olwe follow next to me.
All right, so all you going into the room, yeah?
I know Zabby's pretty much been like right behind me.
Yeah, I'm close on your tail, so...
So I wouldn't mind if Zabby was literally behind Theo. I would have let Zabby go through.
Are you all going in the room?
Yeah.
Dylan tries going in.
I'll go in the room, but I'm going to stay next to the door.
Okay, you all go into the room.
I obviously moved so there's enough room for people to get
Oh
in.
yeah, there's plenty
Yeah.
of room for people to get in. There's plenty of room to just go in. You can take 3-4 steps before being like in the actual room itself. It's quite a spacious open room. It's a very high ceiling, white walls of marble. Like I say, a big huge table, and various like documents and maps and scrolls and books and things like that just seem to be like covering the walls. But they all seem to be like itemized. You know, they're organized. They're not thrown about like crazy. They're well organized. And this is one of the king's antechambers. It's his study area. Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's stood looking out of a window. The window seems to overlook this very lush green.
Quick, how'd you spell? What's his name again? And I need to write it down.
Aragorn.
Isn't it?
Okay.
Aragorn the Second. Yeah, you've met him before.
Yes, I just want to make sure.
You've met him before, yes. Aragorn the Second. It's the same person. Just he's the
Correct.
king now. He's the same person. He
Yeah.
hasn't changed his lifestyle or anything like that. He's still
King Aragon.
he was a ranger of the north. He has been living rough.
Saw me climb, and then we
Cool
followed by
Strider.
Strider, yeah.
Strider.
Yeah, stole Theo's horse. Yeah, the same person.
Saw me climb up a rope and fall to my butt.
Yeah, that's the same person. So,
Tanner, go away. What are you on?
hey, what?
What?
Anyway,
Oh, there we go.
What?
I don't know.
Cortana started talking to me.
Oh,
Oh,
Cortana. Okay.
God,
Right. Okay. Cortana's probably filling in the details. So you go all into this room. Don't trust you. Step through the door.
But I'm going to stay
You
next
stay
to
near the door. You're the closest one to the door. When you step through the door, and you're analysing the room, the door behind you closes and locks.
okay.
nice.
Okay. And the guy in the window doesn't say anything. He's just looking out over the garden. You can see the white tree of Gondor. Yeah. It's actually surprisingly because it's in blossom now. It's in blossom, whereas before it was just a basic white tree with no leaves or anything like that. It seems to be springing some kind of white blossom now, which is quite welcoming to the people of Minas Tirith and most welcoming to the king. Yeah, and he has perfect vantage point of being able to actually watch this and study it. You can also see, stretching out in front of him, a huge promenade. At the end of that promenade, it's flanked by various statues of previous kings and rulers of Gondor. Many Numorian kings from years old. And it stretches out, and it seems to be pointing straight towards Mordor, towards Osgiliath and Mordor in the distance. So the storm clouds over Mordor seem to be just more like soot clouds now, not thunderstorms of red and volcanic lava and things like that. They just seem to be like somebody smothered a bonfire, and now there's just this plume of smoke now, taking time to dissipate, but it's still there. Kind of another reminder of it's not as easy as just getting rid of the Dark Lord and then waking up the next morning and everything's all, hunky-dory. Everything's all amazing. Yeah, it does take time. A moment passes, and Aragorn turns round, and he seems to smile. He holds out his hand. He says, "Welcome, friends. It's been a while since we last met." He holds out his hand towards Theo and he says, "How are things in Kalos?"
They are doing great, my king. It's hard work, but it's getting there slowly.
He acknowledges that greatly. It's the same for Gondor and for Minas Tirith and for the city ports everywhere. Yeah, it's the same for everybody everywhere. It's good to see that people have not deserted their purpose of taking on responsibility of the consequences of banishing the Dark Armies.
No, and hope is still around.
Oh yes, hope grows every day. And again, he glances out the window, just quickly, and looks at the tree of Gondor. He remembers where he is, and he turns towards Estelle, and he says, "My Lady of Tharbad."
Yeah.
Jai's a bit of jiggling there.
Yeah, Jai went
Oh, I
BRB,
thought you
it's
did.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, he turns out and he holds out his hand to Lady Tharbad and to Lady Tharbad, the Lady of Tharbad, and says, "Oh, my lady, how is Tharbad? Good news. Good news, I hope."
Well, considering how it was from when they got collateral the bridge, but it's doing all right.
I see.
I
Yes.
think it's doing all right.
The opening of Friendship Bridge.
Yes.
Yes.
And if anyone asks, I did not agree to that name.
Ah, it doesn't really matter what we call things these days. Many people call him he's got several titles, and he kind of sympathizes with you. He has several titles, and but the one he's most fond of is Strider. Yes, he half misses people him calling that.
I remember that name.
Hey,
Yeah.
I remember that name.
I remember.
Theo says that out loud, not out loud. But
yeah, he misses that one because that's the one people will no longer associate him with the name Strider. And he remembers growing up in Rivendell, and he mentions that where people used to call him Strider of Rivendell. Safeguard his lineage, obviously. But now he is King Aragorn II of Gondor, and of Minas Tirith, and the lands beyond.
Yeah, the name could have been a lot worse, to be
It could have been.
honest.
It could have been. But you know, it's something that he's getting accustomed to, and with Arwen's help, he's constantly reminded of the pressures of governing and running a city, as well as rewarding and taking care of those victims of the previous events. He glances over at Zabi. He glances over at Dylan Trask, and he just smiles. He glances over to Olwe, and he makes reference to growing up with Olwe in Rivendell, and that how it would delight Lady Arwen to know that her lady-in-waiting is still resides in Middle-earth and is still assisting with the reformation and rebuilding and the restructuring and the safeguarding of Theo and Estelle. But that's not the reason why he didn't want to call you here to reminiscence about a year ago. Okay, he doesn't want to. I didn't call you here to reminiscence about what happened a year ago. Things have moved on since then, and he points out several things. He says it's all well and good getting rid of the Dark Lord, destroying the ring, and banishing the Nine, and all that sort of stuff, but it has left a gap in the workings of evil. There's still creatures that stir in Mordor and in Dol Guldur and Isengard and Agmar.
When he mentions
Dol
Guldur, so it made me shiver that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't want to remember that place.
No, he said like it's not. You know, there's things, creatures that stir in the deep. But he has soldiers out there doing reconnaissance and infiltration and trying to rid the world of these evil creatures, trying to discover their secrets and their knowledge, and everything seems that they find and discover and report comes back to him in this room. All the books and the knapsacks full of twisted and folded up pieces of paper, all notes made by his scouts. He still prefers to use less armoured, more skilled scouts than he does actual full-blown armies and soldiers in full-clad plate. Something he learned when he was the Rangers of the North. Guerrilla tactics in hostile territories is something that he'll never forget. However, there's one place that he needs information from.
Which is?
It's an area that he has sent scouts to, but they've been stopped. They've been thwarted by probably orcs, wargs, trolls, things like that. And information from that region is very difficult to obtain. There is a library there of ancient knowledge that he would like to procure to safeguard. One of Arwen's pet projects is to build a huge library in the middle of Minas Tirith to store all this information, these stories, these tales, these books of poetry.
Well, that'll be nice.
And to not have these manuscripts, these scrolls, fall into the hands of traders or relic hunters.
Relic hunters?
Yeah, obtainers of antiquities for self-gain. Mythical items. Things like that need to be kept away from people who do not understand what people of this generation went through in order to obtain the freedom that they have. These items need to be safeguarded. They cannot be allowed to just fall into the hands of the innocent. Just like the One Ring. It fell into the hands of Smeagol, an innocent. It did not understand its history or its knowledge, and subsequently brought about a chain of events that led to the Fellowship of the Ring. That led to Mordor and to the destruction and almost the loss of Frodo and Sam. So these items he's vowed to obtain, to put into safekeeping. Here's a vault being created now under the White Mountain in order to store these relics, these manuscripts of information, these maps, these tombs, these incantations. However, one place on the outskirts of Mordor is proven to be elusive, and he would very much like to invite you to acquire items from this library.
Do you know what these items are?
He's not really sure. He just knows that they make reference to artifacts and items from ancient times. To records, to archives and things like that from an era that is no longer part of this world. So he can't really say exactly what these might be in reference to. There could be for numerous things, but things like that, information like that, is probably best kept out of the general populace. He doesn't want this information to be floating around. Nobody wants this information to be floating around. However, it still wants to be available to the people who wish to research it, study it, scholars, and socialize and things like that. But the items themselves, or the maps that lead to these items, or the treasure trails that lead to these items, need to be acquired. And the items themselves must be safeguarded. These are very potent items, and we don't want our next little snotling goblin running around with another ring of power.
When Aragon says that, Dylan Trask looks directly at Zabi as if, well, Smeagol wasn't always a twisted creature. He was a hobbit once, so technically you're just called a hobbit or goblin.
I look at Dylan, tries and flick the bird at him.
He doesn't say that. He just kind of looks at Zabi as
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
if you've just technically, this guy has just technically insulted her.
No,
and she's
it wasn't
doing
insulting
nothing.
her. It was just they saying he doesn't want the next snotling goblin running around with the next ring of power.
Yeah, but he's kind
just a
saying
metaphor.
That, but at the same
Yeah.
time, yeah, the way Dylan Trask has perceived it, it's like you've just insulted an entire race of people. And what gives
Not
you
really.
right to do that?
It's just a metaphor. Like he doesn't want.
It's
It's like you say, I don't want the next
yeah, but
troll
it's-
running around with the next Excalibur kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's Dylan Trask's perception.
Oh, Dylan Trask
of
just
it,
interpreted
that's
it as
how
that, yeah.
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 He's not
It's-
specifically saying that's what he said. He's just
Yeah.
going, that's how he sees
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's just when Zabi hears that, she just shrugged her shoulders. It could happen either way, to be honest, Your Highness.
We realise it's been a year, and you've probably got your own agendas and your own duties to take care of. I know, my Lady of Tharbad, you've probably got a lengthy list of meetings that you need to sit on. And I'm dare say that Theodore of Kalost has probably got I was going to say many trading agreements to oversee. Yeah, and supplies to provide. So he can't force you to undergo this like take on this favor.
Zabby like looks at both Estelle and Theo and goes, well, one little adventure wouldn't hurt, would it?
Also, if the fact that you're asking us to be the ones to take a gander at this place and retrieve said artifacts, would you mind that me and whoever I ask to examine them as well?
Oh, of course. It's more a concern for him that there's no like crazy deranged goblin or wag running around in Mordor.
Oh, obviously.
Yes. So you would be working in covert, obviously.
Right.
So if you are stopped by a garrison of Osgiliath or Rohan or Brownlands or anywhere like that, you are not to divulge any information with regards to your purpose as to what you're doing there. As far as they're concerned, you're just a bunch of freelance adventurers who want to make some small coin.
Oh, I already know the gist
Infiltrating
anyway.
some begotten orc camp that no longer exists. Kind of like collecting for the spoils of war, that kind of thing, yes?
Which I like to call stragglers.
I don't think you'll go so far as that, but okay.
I've been like that for years, so it's no big difference.
Dylan Trask kind of leans back on part of the wall and puts his leg up against it as if he's balancing on one leg. But his back's against
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
wall.
know,
Kind of
yeah, just slouching.
And kind of says also while he's doing this, if we take these things from a specific place, what's to stop the inhabitants of said place to come to your vault and try to take back what rightfully belongs in their country or in their
At the moment they have
part of
at the
the
moment they
world?
have no leadership. I mean, there is some small bands of orcs that seem to have diversified and elected a new chieftain or captain or something like that, but they're mostly fighting amongst themselves for leadership. It's going to take a long time before they can actually organize themselves into another formidable force. There's no, as far as they know, his intelligence is telling him that there's no major replacement for Sauron. So they're left leaderless at the moment, but that's not to say they're not dangerous. In fact, because they're probably not following orders or instruction or guidance from a sentient being, then they're probably more dangerous.